Hello everyone, welcome to Anything But Sports or ABS. I'm one of the co-hosts, Sawyer.
And I'm the other co-host, John. Today, we have an amazing guest with us. His name is Ed.
I'm Ed.
Ed, introduce yourself to us.
My name's Ed. From around the way.
So I know this is the first time that I've ever met you. So yeah. I know literally nothing about you. So I'm going to ask some boring stuff that will probably cut out of the final.
Are you sure about that?
But how old are you?
I'm 23.
Oh, congratulations. When's your birthday?
Thank you. September 27th. Share the same birthday as Lil Wayne.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. That's fun. And where are you from? Are you from Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm from Marietta, actually.
Oh, cool.
Grew up around here.
So how has Atlanta changed over the course of your life?
Hasn't really changed, to be honest. It's been like pretty much the same, except the housing prices.
Was Atlanta a film city when you were a kid?
No, I think it started growing like 10 years ago.
Do you have any memories associated with that?
No, I was in high school, and then I just kept hearing that Atlanta is a growing business, and I was like, cool, I don't have to move.
Yeah.
Do you imagine that you'll stay in Atlanta the rest of your life?
Yeah, pretty much. I like it here. I haven't really traveled out of the South, so that might change.
Where would you want to travel if you could?
I'd go to New York and see what's all the hubba. Grab $1 slice.
Yeah.
$1.25 slice. RIP dollar slices.
For real.
Yeah.
So what do you do in media? How are you related to the field?
Well, I've been doing it since high school. It's always piqued my interest, and I've always been on the camera. Just been the cameraman. I love like composition, color, whatnot. I nerd out about like the specs of cameras. So I think about it too much, even though it doesn't really matter. All cameras are just like basically hammers.
How so?
Because they all do the same job, except one can look prettier.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I do DP work as well, and I also really enjoy camera specs. But yeah, it is very important to keep that perspective of like it is just a tool.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was the first thing that you remember filming?
In audio and video class, I was there with my friend group. They always made us enter a film festival each semester.
Really?
Yeah, our school system has one of the largest school systems, so there's a lot of competition, and all the film teachers would like organize a film festival each semester and force the kids to do it as a project.
No way.
Yeah, so I'd do one every semester, and we made a horror film.
What was it about?
It was just some dude in a mask, and we had big clunky cameras. I don't even remember what they were. It was pretty bad because we had one scene where it's like you could tell the sun was obviously going down, and you saw the color shift from red to blue and more noise be present.
Yeah.
For the film festival, you had to include a specific prop, which was a toothbrush that year. So we just like sharpened like the end of a toothbrush, and we had that be like the weapon of choice.
The weapon.
Yeah.
The end of a
we
toothbrush.
just like thrifted a bunch of the costumes.
I think what I'd like to ask you next, and just a little context, you are our first Atlanta native on the show. So for someone who, like us, who just recently moved to Atlanta, what is there to do in Atlanta? Like, what do you enjoy doing on the weekends?
There's a cool local shops in Atlanta, like vintage shops, like specialty shops. And around here, it's kind of big, the vintage scene. Like, they'll have festivals and markets and whatnot, like Ecology. Yeah, they have a seasonal market, and they just bring in like a bunch of people around the community. They can have their own booths and sell whatever they want. And they do it like last one. I think it was they had the fall market, and it was really cool. They had a ton of shirts, a ton of people come out. Straight in Atlanta, full circle. They have like a market like every other weekend on the Beltline. And also the Beltline's a great place to visit. It's just like a giant trail going through Atlanta. You can like rent a bike or something, or just like take a walk. And like it's connected to a bunch of markets, like Pond City Market. It's kind of touristy, but it's still cool. It's a cool place. They got a ton of food spots. Mm-hmm. They have like a little park at the top of the roof, and it's connected to the belt line. So once you're done there, you can just like go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just following the belt line. Or there's a good amount of hiking spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're into that. Stone Mountain, Kennesaw Mountain. There's Red Top. You'll find some trails. Yeah, and that's what I used to do a lot.
Which one's your favorite?
I like Kennesaw Mountain because it has multiple trails and it's pretty big. Mm-hmm. You can do like a 5-mile loop, or if like you can just choose a certain section to go up and then down.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, you know, even though Atlanta is such a city, that it's there's still a lot of nature really close, even to the center of the city.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Like, I've never traveled to other major cities, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. I guess I just grew up with big trees and whatnot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can tell you Chicago is completely different. Chicago does not have a ton of woods right in the middle of the city.
You got giant bean. Oh,
yeah.
Hell bean.
Chicago does have Cloud Gate. What's the art scene like, speaking of that, in Atlanta?
I think there's like subsections to it. Like, for younger people, you can find like punk scenes, or you can find like, if you're in college, you'll probably know someone who's in a band. They're always playing, people are always playing like local shows. Like, I went to one, it was called Couch Fest by Georgia Tech. And all my friends didn't go to Georgia Tech. They were just in a band that was playing there. It's just small organizations around Atlanta will have like certain venues. You'll find those pretty often, actually.
Okay, let's talk about like the industry for a little bit.
Yeah.
And your experience with it. So like, when was the first time that you had a job that you deem professional, that you were like paid for your work?
Well, I've done background acting for a summer. That was how I like got into bigger sets, just to see how they operate. Because I remember the first day I was there, it was very intimidating because there was like 50 other extras. Yeah. And there was people just running around, and I was like, "Where's the holding?" And some dude was like, "I don't know." And then he kept walking. I was like, "Okay, that was helpful." I got my first taste from that, which is like kind of nice because you don't have that much responsibility as a background, but you just get to observe. But the last gig I did was it was in Alabama. I fucking hate Alabama. There was nothing to do there. Yeah, I was in Montgomery. It felt barren and weird. It was a weird place. Not returning unless I'm being paid.
What was the show?
It was a reality show. They had like people like Ray J and Amber Rose. It was weird.
What did they have them do?
They're just living in a house and going to school. So yeah, they made them like take baby classes. They would have homework assignments, which was weird because they were like in their 30s and famous and rich.
That is really bizarre. That's funny. And what was your role on that?
I was a PA. It was kind of brutal.
Yeah.
How come?
It was a 24-hour set. Coordinators, where they had 3 of them. It was kind of scary.
Do you think that you would enjoy working on more reality shows, or do you think you prefer other types of work?
It was kind of fun, honestly, because just things will pop up and you're like, oh, I gotta do this shit now.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of how I operate. Like, I get something, I'll do it, and then I'm like, what's next? Whenever I'm like standing by, I'm so confused.
One of my favorite parts about being on set is it feels like you never do the same thing twice.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. Because things can get repetitive, and then I'll just blank out. You just mindlessly do it, you know?
So is being a PA what you want to do for the rest of your career?
Forever?
Fuck no.
So what are you working up to?
I want to weasel in to be in the camera department. It seems kind of hard. I don't get how people do it. But, yeah, I want to be like a second AC and a media manager. Maybe be like first AC in the future.
Eventually be what, though? What's the end goal?
I think a DP. I want to be
For
a
what?
DP. I don't know. Like TV shows. I love TV shows. the fact that after the TV show is done, if there's another season, it feels like it's like you'll get more steady work. Like if the seasons keep rolling in, you'll just be brought back.
To achieve these goals that you just described to us, what is something that you're interested in learning? Like, what's the next thing to learn to get to the end goal?
Next thing to learn, I just think, like, grips equipment. When I was a PA on the last gig, I was with Grips and Electric for a couple days. I was like, these names are kind of funny, but I see what they are now.
Yeah. What's an example of that?
Beefy Baby. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Then I read this sticker. I was like, there's doesn't say Beefy Baby anywhere.
Yeah.
And he's like, how many Beefy Babies are there? Count them. I'm like, what the are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think is a difficult thing you're going to have to learn?
Difficult and just like networking. Just keeping in touch with people. I don't know how many, like, what do people do like 5 years from now? Do they just like text message like 100 people? Like, how are you? Yeah.
I think the keeping in touch on Facebook and saying happy birthday every year definitely does it.
I had a coordinator. He was like, let me teach you a thing, bro. Touchback Tuesdays. He was like, just message everyone weekly. Do you pick a day? I'm like, okay, guess I'll do that.
That's a pretty good piece of advice.
Yeah. So now
Tuesdays.
Now do you do Touchback Tuesdays?
Yeah.
I have not gotten a text from you on Tuesday yet.
I'm due for it. I'll give you one later. Today is Tuesday, by the way.
Okay.
It's just me, like 5 minutes after I leave your apartment. Hey, how are you?
Hope you're doing well.
Working on any projects? Yeah. Do you have any funny stories from being on set?
Yeah, I have a funny story. John and I were working Halloween on a set, and it was on a football field. And we had to, like, tear down the set. And we're in South Georgia, so they have prison labor. And I saw, it was Halloween, and I saw them on the football field. We're on a high school football field. And I was like, yo, look, all the grips are dressed as prisoners.
It was actually
And then prisoners. I saw the fucking guard with a gun, and I was like, oh, those are actual prisoners.
Inmates, yeah.
Is the guy with the gun the best boy?
Yeah.
So let me throw a hypothetical situation at you. If someone comes to you and says, all right, we want to hire you as a DP for this project, and you feel qualified for it, but they said, you need to tell us why you would be good for the job. Like, what makes you different from other DPs? Like, why should we hire you? What would you say?
As a DP, you have a lot more creative power. So I think perspective is where it comes to play. Like, if I had a reel and, like, things I'd like to shoot and things that have been influenced by my perspective, if I can clearly show that and show how I would incorporate that as a DP, I think that's what would show that I'm qualified. Like, I could take initiative.
Yeah, but let's say I have 10 people. They're all qualified.
Yeah.
So why are you?
Because I'm epic. That's why.
This is actually a job interview.
Yeah.
Well, what is your perspective? Like, tell us a little bit about, like, how you see things differently from other people.
I like to add more, like, punk things, more noir aspects into things. Be, like, a little darker, but not, like, insanely dark. Like how a horror movie would be. Mm-hmm. But, like, you can add, like, emotion, like sadness, but, like, generational sadness. Maybe, like, people who, like, move from, like, different countries. They have, like, a way different perspective. And it's so cool to, like, talk to people from different areas of the world.
Yeah.
And how they see things and how that, like, their sense of humor would be, like, different from, like, Americans. Mm-hmm. Or, like, how Americans have different sense of humor from people who live in the South to people who live on the West Coast or, like, in New York. If I said Glizzy Goblin, maybe someone from New York would bust out laughing. You know what I mean?
Let's hope our New York listeners heard that and started laughing. And that actually, that makes a really good point because your parents immigrated here from Mexico, right?
Yeah, they did. I'm a second generation.
Tell us about that. How has it been growing up in the U.S. with such a different perspective?
When I was in elementary school, I was in school with like a bunch of other people who were also second generation. So I didn't really think about it until I got to middle school because I moved. The school system I was in, it was actually really diverse. Like, unironically, because like schools like to say, "Oh, we have diverse backgrounds," but this one was actually pretty diverse. Like, 30%, 30%, 30%, like one thing or the other. And like, it was really cool to see that because just 2 miles down the road, the school would be like 80% white, and then 2 miles down the other way, it'd be like 80% black and like Hispanic. But like where I was, it was like a significant mix of everyone, and like we had different languages and whatnot. We like had a program for like people from other countries who didn't speak that much English.
Okay.
They'd be incorporated into like our classes, and it'd be funny because they would have like different senses of humor. Like some guy from Honduras would be there, and some Argentinian kid would be there, and they'd just be shooting the shit. But one of them has a funny accent, so the other one's making fun of him. And I understood everything because I know Spanish, but like my teacher's just like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, what are your parents' thoughts on you pursuing a career in media?
They really don't get it. It's so unconventional that they can't wrap their heads around it still.
What are some of the conversations you've had with them about it?
Like, I'm like, I don't need school, or I would say there's a giant pay gap because you can be like a PA, but then step up and you're being paid a lot more. Finding jobs is way different. You don't just like send your resume to an employer. You don't stay there for like the rest of your life.
What do your parents do?
My dad, he's a subcontractor for flooring. So he does like carpet. He installs carpet. And I've been doing that as well. Like, I grew up doing that. I would work with him like every summer. And it was weird because as a second generation, you're probably forced. All my second generation people know. You're forced to work with your dad. I was doing child labor for fun as being forced. But yeah, at least I got money out of it.
Are there any takeaways from working with your dad installing flooring that you can apply to your film career?
Yeah, honestly, just like keep going while I'm working because we don't take breaks.
Right.
The breaks we have, it's the car ride onto another job. Like the film sets have like 12-hour days. I was easily able to adjust.
Yeah, transition over.
Yeah, I could easily work those hours and be fine because I'm not like doing manual labor. I kind of like that. I like doing stuff with my body and stuff like that. Keeping myself busy. I don't know. I couldn't be like at an office doing like paperwork for that long. So,
Ed, Thanksgiving is coming up. How does your family celebrate Thanksgiving?
We don't. Yeah, we've never celebrated Thanksgiving. Not because of a political stance, just because it never applied to us.
Sure.
It just like flew over our heads.
So, Ed, even though your family doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving, I think it would be remiss for us to not say at least one thing that we're all thankful for.
Yeah.
So, Ed, if you go ahead and start.
Thankful for caffeine. I think I'm addicted to caffeine. It's pretty great.
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for community, which may be a little bit deeper than caffeine, but I don't want to step on it. Yeah, I'm thankful for community. I think in Chicago, I was definitely assuming that I would find it down here, but I now know that I definitely have found community in Atlanta. So that's what I'm really thankful for. What are you thankful for, Sawyer?
I'm thankful for perspective. I think it's really easy for anyone to kind of get trapped in whatever bubble of relevance affects them only. And interacting with people who are different than you and have different jobs than you and have different experiences than you, I think can really open up your eyes and kind of put things into perspective. And I feel like I'm just going to say this on every single episode, just the fact that the media industry exists like is so worthless. It contributes nothing to society.
I love playing make believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the fact that people can take it so seriously, I just think is so silly. And as soon as you put any perspective into what we do and you take that step back, I think it makes it more fun. I think it takes the pressure off because it's not important. We're not performing surgery.
Yeah.
We're filming a stage play.
Yeah.
You know, and so I really enjoy. I'm very thankful for perspective.
All right, so now that we've established what we're thankful for, let's talk about success and how we see success. So, Ed, can you tell us your definition of success as it is right now?
Yeah, I think success would be like happiness because it's what motivates you.
What are the sources of this happiness? Like
Sources is whatever makes you happy. Whatever, like, if you like consuming media, personally, I'll put on some Breaking Bad, and I'm just like a giddy little boy, just like kicking my feet and twirling my hair. Maybe like a cup of coffee with some friends, like a community, and having caffeine.
Yeah.
But and some and being like having some financial security. You don't need to be like super greedy and like be a money generator. Just like have a little bit just to survive, honestly.
So, what does financial security look like for you?
I don't know, paycheck.
has your definition of success changed any over the course of your life?
Yeah, a little bit. Because, like, my definition of success used to be, like, finishing school and going straight into a job and, like, getting married and whatnot. Where I'm, like, my family, they're like, why aren't you married yet? I was like, that's weird. Stop. But, like, to them, people used to get married, like, in their 20s, like, their very early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, by this age, my dad was, like, he had me, and he was in a different country, and he was living in his own home, working a full-time job. But, like, that's not how it is around here. Even, like, moving out as an aspect, I was so conflicted about that because Americans like to move out when they go to college. But I told my parents I'm moving out, and they're, like, tearing up. Because, like, Hispanic people don't really move out their house unless they get, like, married or, like, they're, like, 25 or something.
Yeah, ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're, like, 25, you can still, like, if you're in, like, an Hispanic community and you're living with your parents, that's not weird. It's just a thing.
Do you have any brothers or sisters that still live at home?
Yeah, I'm the oldest, though. So I have, like, a 19-year-old brother and a sister who's in 7th grade. So I'm like the experiment child. It's pretty great.
I'm the oldest as well.
Yeah, you know what it is.
The Daniel Boone. You have paved the trail.
Yeah.
Figure it out, and your parents make all the mistakes with you.
Yeah, we walk so they can run. And my hands look like this. So their hands. Yeah.
Do you think that your parents have the same expectations for your siblings as they do for you? Or do you think that they, by your actions, kind of like adjusted to the way of life here? Yeah,
they definitely adjusted because I'm their gateway to American culture. And I've taught them a good bit. So my siblings would have like a different expectations when they're older compared to me.
Yeah, do you think the career path that you have chosen has kind of like opened their minds a little bit, and like maybe they'll be more lenient toward your siblings about if they want to do something that might seem impractical?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I think. Because they don't know what positions are in like the film industry or like entertainment industries. They can't really wrap their heads around it. And once all they care is about a paycheck, honestly. Once they see a paycheck, they're like, oh, you're doing fine. That's whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're approaching the end of this conversation, so now we're going to ask you the question of, if you had to summarize this entire conversation into one word, what do you think it would be?
I think it would be perspective, honestly. Because we're seeing, like, different cultures and communities especially around now. A lot more people moving to Atlanta. Just like mingle and get to know each other.
All right, so now that we've chosen our word, if there's one thing that you can say to those who are listening, what would it be?
Keep your head up. You got it. I believe in you.
All right, well, thanks so much, Ed, for being here. And thank you, listeners at home. We'll see you in the next one.